investasi adalah salah satu pemberian sumbangsi untuk pertumbuhan ekonomi kita di kuartal keempat.
The Minister of Investment also delivered the realizations of investment in fourth quarter in 2021 at 241.6 trillion rupiah, or increased 12.5% compared to the same period in 2020. From Jakarta, Adi Firmansyah for IDX Channel.
Government through the Ministry of Investment targeted this year's investment realization as much as 1,200 trillion rupiah. Such target is higher compared to 2021 target, which was on the level of 900 trillion rupiah.
Minister of Investment and also the head of BKPM, Bahlil Lahadalia, feeling optimistic towards this year's investment target realizations. As it is known, 2022 investment target realization raised by 30% compared to 2021. Some strategies had been prepared to help government to reach such target. One of them is by prioritizing downstream product of Indonesia's natural resources to fulfill global demand. To do that, government will issue some facilities and business permit for investors. Bahlil and his team had created special team to target liquid investment sources in some big countries such as United Arab Emirates, China, Europe, and the United States. Moreover, Bahlil also captured global investors' enthusiasm on Indonesia's economic recovery from the eyes of global perspectives, such as opportunity will be used to increase consistency in investment realizations.
1.200 triliun target investasi di tahun 2022 itu bukanlah angka yang sedikit, karena pertumbuhannya secara year on year itu 30-33%. Ini sebuah tantangan yang luar biasa sekali. Tapi kami yakin bahwa ini bisa tercapai karena berdasarkan beberapa persiapan. Yang pertama adalah kecenderungan investor dalam negeri maupun asing untuk mengeksekusi rencana investasi mereka semakin tinggi. Yang kedua adalah UMKM kita udah mulai tumbuh. Karena kami dorong investasi tidak hanya yang besar, yang kecil juga kami dorong. Karena para UMKM kita ini juga investor. Jangan menerjemahkan investor itu hanya yang gede-gede. Dan yang ketiga adalah persepsi global terhadap Indonesia sekarang semakin membaik. Dan yang keempat adalah konsistensi pemerintah dalam mendorong investasi sebagai bagian instrumen yang menjadi prioritas untuk pertumbuhan ekonomi.
Bahlil also said that he will improve investment realization by incentivizing secondary sector roles such as labor incentive sectors and technology-oriented industry. From Jakarta, Adi Firmansyah for IDX Channel.
Committee of Financial System Stability, or KSSK, still keep its eye on the case of Omicron in the country and the impact of policies that will be implemented by developed countries towards Indonesia's economic growth this year. Minister of Finance, that is also the head of KSSK, Sri Mulyani, explained that the mix between the two reasons will affect Indonesia's economic recovery. The rising positive case of Omicron variant in Indonesia still become a major concern. Moreover, some global pressures started to occur recently, such as Federal Reserve's normalization policy and geopolitical turbulence, will give significant impact on the transition process from pandemic to endemic. Related to that, in the working meeting with 11th Commission of the House of Representatives, Minister of Finance, that is also the head of Committee of Financial System Stability, or KSSK, explained about its efforts to intensify policy coordination.
Fix, yaitu volatilitas indeks, dan capital flow itu semuanya berimbas directly ke sektor keuangan. Jadi dalam hal ini kami di KSSK juga meskipun di satu sisi melihat optimisme pemulihan ekonomi berjalan, namun waspada terhadap pandemi yang masih berlangsung dan komplikasi environment kebijakan kita yang berasal dari global yang memiliki spillover yang cukup besar terutama di sektor keuangan.
KSSK will also keep its eye on the emergence of new variant of COVID-19 in the country and also about the development of vaccine production and COVID-19 medicine to suppress the spread and an infection of the virus. Jakarta, Raharjo Padmo, IDX Channel. Our headlines will be right back after the break. Stay tuned.
Inspirasinya dari mana? Bisa yakin gitu untuk kita membentuk home care 24.
Karena satu panggilan jiwa ya, di Indonesia belum ada menggeluti dunia bisnis health tech.
Jangan cuma ngelihat langit, tapi juga ingat bahwa kaki kita tuh masih di tanah gitu. Jangan cuma lihat cuan, tapi ingat masih ada risiko kerugian.
Apa yang dipelajari dari rugi? Karena kan pasti ada momen di mana seorang investor itu dia rugi, portofolionya itu merah.
Nomor satu banget yang paling penting disadari oleh pemula yaitu manajemen resiko. Investasi itu bukan untuk memenuhi kebutuhan hidup, harus tetap kerja. Trading untuk membantu kita mencapai tujuan hidup.
Jadi PT Paragon itu kan memang masih sebuah private company, jadi masih
Tetap ada responsibility, saya setuju tadi.
mendevelop tim, ya kan, what can I help you, empower gitu kan, gimana supaya prosesnya lebih efektif.
Lebih bisa berkembang lagi, punya. Saya Prisa Samodatu membawakan program berita News Screen yang menghadirkan informasi seputar ekonomi maupun juga bisnis dari dalam negeri.
Perbincangan hangat tentang isu dan kebijakan ekonomi terkini yang diulas secara mendalam bersama narasumber terpercaya. Senin sampai Jumat, pukul 10 waktu Indonesia bagian Barat, hanya di IDX Channel.
Saya Mangivera Tjong dan rekan saya Wicky Adrian hadir dalam Power Breakfast.
Awali hari Anda dengan informasi dunia ekonomi yang diulas dari berbagai sudut pandang.
Indeks harga saham gabungan konsisten.
Simak pula analisa pasar modal dan inspirasi bisnis dari berbagai perusahaan rintisan. Power Breakfast, Senin sampai Jumat, pukul 8.00, hanya di IDX Channel. Welcome back. Entrepreneurship is one of the most important business and backbone sectors in the country's development. Such fact is along with corporations, cooperatives, finance, and banking. To build Indonesia to become a more advanced country, it also takes a lot of entrepreneurship. The requirements to be a developed country is to have an entrepreneur, at least 2% of the total population. The number of Indonesian entrepreneurs only reached 3.1% of the total population. This ratio is still lower than other countries such as Malaysia, 5%, China, 10%, and Singapore, 7%, Japan, 11%, and United States, 12%. This amount is of course, still far from the amount needed. Currently, the number of Indonesian businessmen is less than neighboring country. Therefore, the entrepreneurship creation program is needed to give birth to new entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs basically have a tendency to continue to innovate and bring new technology to win the market competition and improve the nation's competitiveness. In addition, it also created many jobs so that the unemployment rate can be suppressed. The development of local Indonesian entrepreneurs will strengthen the domestic competitiveness so that in the long term, it can reduce dependence on foreign markets. To have a deeper view on our dialogue topic about accelerating innovative ecosystem to create new entrepreneurs, we have Mr. Gupta Sitorus, CRO and co-founder of Disrupto. Hello, sir. How are you?
Hi.
Nice to have you virtually.
Likewise. Thank you for having me today.
Yes, talking about the ratio of entrepreneurs compared to the number of Indonesian people is still very low. As we know, it's only like 3.1% compared to the total population of Indonesian people. And based on your findings, what causing this low ratio, Mr. Gupta?
So, I'm trying to see it from the full glass kind of perspective. Yes, in terms of entrepreneurship, I think compared to other country, compared to neighboring countries, we might say that we are still lower than our neighboring countries. But in terms of startup growth and stuff, I think we are quite proud to see that the number of startup in Indonesia basically is the 5th largest in the world. But aside from that, I think when you ask what are the costs of us lacking the number of entrepreneurs, I think the role of education is very very important, Mas. Gitu kan ya. If we see from the historical point of view, I think people in my generation, we see a success indicator from different perspective. People who are actually born with the older millennial or probably the X generation see success when we are able to work for larger corporation, for big MNC. Back then, that was actually the indicator of being success. But it shifted during early 90s, during early 2000, when being entrepreneur actually also become an option to be a success person. So I think on that particular point, education and perception play a very important role of growing the number of entrepreneurs in Indonesia. Back then, 2000, we only witnessed several entrepreneurs, and most of them are people who actually have the luxury of going on having education from abroad or from foreign university. So on that particular point, I think modern or more progressive education provide a more progressive perception that is needed to create entrepreneur generation.
Okay, as you mentioned before, we still have some things that we need to exercise, but on the other thing that we have, things that we can feel proud of. As you mentioned before, Indonesia is one of the largest startups producer. So talking about the urgency in creating entrepreneurs related to Indonesia's economic growth, what is the urgency?
Well, I think it's as simple as entrepreneur and business is actually one of the biggest driving force in economic growth. The biggest chance for people like us to be entrepreneurs, the bigger as well the opportunity for a country to have economic growth. I think that is quite linear, and I think even Pak Jokowi also in several initiatives also mentioned about how can we grow and how can we develop our human resources that also be beneficial for the sector. I think it's quite linear, Mas, that entrepreneurship and entrepreneur and business also will contribute huge to our country economic growth and GDP.
So you see a strong relation between the two. So how do you see the importance of innovative ecosystem in creating new entrepreneurs?
Well, I think it's a very related situation here where we live in a very everything is similar right now. So we live in a cut, copy, and paste kind of thing. So everyone basically are the product of the same infrastructure, are the product of the same system. So everyone basically have the same frame of reference, same frame of work. So it is important for people like us, for entrepreneurs to have a passion or drive in innovations that can actually distinct their business, distinct their product, distinct their service from other. So so innovation entrepreneur is very very related, Mas.
Okay, and how about the efforts in creating innovative ecosystem in Indonesia? We try to see the efforts by the government or the other stakeholders or other parties. Are we in the ideal level? We're going to talk about this later on the next segment, Mr. Gupta. And stay on Market Lines because we'll be right back.
Dengan informasi terkini yang kami kemas dalam berita teraktual dan berkualitas.
Memberikan berbagai berbagai macam kebutuhan informasi.
Memberikan informasi ekonomi dan bisnis Indonesia juga mancanegara.
Merupakan hal penting dalam mendukung keputusan investasi Anda.
Saksikan program-program ekonomi dan bisnis terkini langsung dari sumbernya.
Sebenarnya Pasar Now itu apa sih? Boleh dong dijelasin?
Lebih singkatnya tuh Pasar Now e-grocery channel ya. Jadi kita adalah supply chain.
Perbincangan bersama sosok wanita yang menginspirasi.
Langsung antara petani dengan marketnya atau pasarnya.
Diulas secara santai dan mendalam.
Yang mana sih, B2B atau B2C?
Kalau untuk yang B2C, uniknya ibu-ibu karena
Women's Talk. Setiap Jumat pukul 12.30 waktu Indonesia bagian Barat hanya di IDX Channel. Kumpulan berita ekonomi dan bisnis dari dalam negeri. Senin sampai Jumat pukul 14.30 hanya di IDX Channel. Awali hari Anda dengan informasi dunia ekonomi yang diulas dari berbagai sudut pandang. Power Breakfast, Senin sampai Jumat pukul 8.00 hanya di IDX Channel.
Welcome back to Market Headlines, and we still have Mr. Gupta Sitarus, CRO and co-founder of Disrupto. And related to the thing that had been mentioned from you or by you before about the importance of innovative ecosystem. So the efforts of government or some parties in creating innovative ecosystem, how do you see the efforts so far? Are we already in the ideal situation right now?
So before I answer that, I think we need to understand the importance of having an ecosystem to establish an innovative environment for our people. So to us, we see that this particular ecosystem is very important to having a very important role in establishing or in progressing the innovation in our country. Why? By having ecosystem, basically we have the chance to accelerate. By having ecosystem, meaning that we are providing access to those who have ideas and innovation to resources, thus they can speed up their innovation. By having ecosystem, meaning that we have more opportunity to monetize the innovation. So ecosystem is very important for innovation to grow. And in terms of ecosystem, meaning ideally is a working environment among stakeholders. With stakeholders, I think we agree to acknowledge academician, business, government, media, and the innovator. So ideally, this whole spectrum, this whole stakeholder need to work hand in hand because each spectrum, each stakeholder, they have their own competency and resources that can actually enable or accelerate the innovation. And in terms of government, I think in the past 10 years, the government have played a very quite aggressive and progressive initiative in accelerating the ecosystem. For example, by establishing Backcraft, I think Backcraft by function and role has a very strategic contribution and role in managing and nurturing the innovation. In terms of resources and funding, the government has been disbursing and roll out so many platforms and so many initiatives that can actually be accessed by startup or business to whoever that need funding or support in financial. So I think in that particular sense, we see a progressive move from the government in the past 10 years.
Okay, talking about the innovative ecosystem as the backbone, we're talking about the ideal situation, like government and every other parties working ideally. So based on your findings, what reasons that used to block new entrepreneurs in assuring their business sustainability?
So I think it is a matter of internal capacity. See, by capacity I mean again we have a structural problem in education. What I'm trying to say is that education system play a very important role in shaping the frame of reference and framework of us, the people. So if only we can provide I came from a very our formal education provide us a structural thinking. What we need now are education system that can provide also creative thinking and critical thinking, where we are exercised to be more creative, to have a critical thinking. That's every or any innovation that we produce is something that sustained bit from the product per se and from the business from the business perspective. So I think education play a very important role in that. So whoever that is in the business and in startup or whatever that is can actually build a more sustainable businesses in the future.
The things that I think we should do right now is triggering the soft skill, or we need to provide medium or platform so the new entrepreneurs can improve their soft skill. So is capital always become a challenge for new entrepreneurs?
Well, of course. When we talk about resources, not only capital but also knowledge and references. Capital is one thing. I mean, most of the time, in my finding, I mean, the world is getting flatter now. I mean, back then, if you're talking about 10 years ago, 20 years ago, we have challenge in benchmarking, in finding references, because we don't have any internet back then. But now, even though that we are here in Indonesia, we can always do benchmarking and finding references from other countries. To that end, the quality of innovation here in the country basically is there. But then again, how to realize this innovation into something real? How to accelerate and how to progress this initiative into something commercial? How to commercialize this innovation? At the end of the day, capital, funding, most of the time is the main challenge in commercializing innovation.
Okay, our time is quite short. I'm going to ask you the last question. So, what is your hope towards innovative ecosystem in Indonesia to create new entrepreneurs? Very short one, Mr. Gupta.
Yeah, as I said, I think ideally the whole spectrum of stakeholder, the academician, business, government, media, the startup, the business, whatever that, we need to work hand in hand in more lean, in more aggressive, in more comprehensive movement that everyone can actually work in the same pace. As I said, if these five stakeholders can work hand in hand, harmonically, in harmony, I think we can witness in the near future. We can witness more progressive, more progressive innovation ecosystem.
Yeah, we hope nothing but the best for innovative ecosystem to create new entrepreneurs. Thank you very much, Mr. Gupta, for your comprehensive point of view. Thank you. See you very soon. All right, and the dialogue close our market headlines today, and please enjoy our next program on IDX Channel, your trustworthy business and economic and capital market channel. I'm Wicky Adrian. Thank you.
Sobat Investor, berikut ini